So we're learning the Sicho of Shabbos Vayeshev Mevarchim Tevis Erev Chanukah. So, which means, I guess Motzei Shabbos was Chanukah, the first night. The Rebbe says like this: Doiver Kislev that we spoke about on Yitas Kislev. So the Rebbe is following up on Yitas Kislev. Oidis Mashakasa B'Sima Shas. The Rebbe made a Sima Shas evidently that year 1962. That we say the halichos olam loy, right? That's the pasuk. So the Gemara's the limud is al tikra halichos olam loy. Halichos means the movement. Al tikra halichos el halachos. That halachos Torah is olam loy. So this idea of the power of learning halacha says that since the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, God finds Himself within the 4 cubic space of halacha. Shehechach zehu. It says Sachaku give us oilam halichus oilam loy. So the pasuk says 2 times oilam, and then so he says, why do we say 2 times oilam to teach us a limud? Okay, we have to know that Gemara is a continuation. Let's see the point that the Rebbe is making here. That there's 2 levels of the world. Ha'alev and from this is understood so the Rebbe goes into what is the limud, but it's a continuation of Yitas Kislev, but we'll see what he's trying to say over here at this Fabring. When it comes to finishing the Shas of the Mishnayos, meaning not the we know the Mishnayos has all the Masechtas of Mishnayos, there's certain tractates of the Mishnayos that don't have Gemara in it, and certainly not Talmud Bavli. Shesham Huva Kosiv, it says over there, at the end of Mishnayos, it finishes off, Hashem Oz Lama Yiton, the famous pasuk, Hashem Oz Lama Yiton, Hashem Yivarchas Amei B'Shalim. Hashem gives Oz to His people, and He blesses His people with peace. Shekoifu Beis Pam Tevis Avayda. It says in the pasuk, Hashem Oz Lama Yiton, Hashem Yivarchas Amei B'Shalim, it says 2 times the words Hashem. Obeis Pa'am Tevis Amoy. It says 2 times the word Amoy, right? Hashem Oiz La Amoy, Hashem Yivarech Es Amoy. So there's 2 times Hashem and 2 times Amoy. So it also has to be a limud. How could the pasuk have worded it differently? It could have said Hashem Oiz La Amoy Yitim Vivarchem B'Shalom, and then you would take out both the word of Hashem and both the word of Amoy twice. You wouldn't have to repeat it. So if you wanted to be careful in the wording, the message could have been given over by saying Hashem owes la'ama yitain v'yivarchem, and He blesses them with peace. From the very fact that it doesn't word it that way is a proof. Just like al tikra halichos oilam loy, it says 2 times oilam is a limud that we have to learn something from it, and therefore we change it from halichos, from movements, to halachas going of laws. So too, the fact that the pasuk could have worded it Hashem oiz La'ama yitim vivarchem b'shalom, and instead chose to say Hashem oiz la'ama yitim Hashem yivarches am b'shalom, means the pasuk is coming to tell us 2 levels of Hashem and 2 levels of Amoy. V'ni neisiv Hashem avai k'moish nispar Hashem l'kamon. The Rebbe says we'll get back to it in a second. Val derech zeh also l'haschol zeshas. How do we start the Mishnayos, which is brachas, right? The first tractate. So we say me'emisai kornes Shema. When do we start reading the Shema? Also there we find at the beginning of Mishnah it talks about reading Shema, and in the Shema it says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. It could have said Hashem Elokeinu Echad, right? Why say Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? Shekayfu Beis Pam Tevis Havaya. Lechura Havle Lemar Vaya Elokeinu Echad. Hashem our Lord is one. Mized Raya. And the very fact that it doesn't word it that way, that there's something that's coming to teach us in the saying twice Havaya. The Rebbe continues. What's this have to do with our parsha? So this is the Rebbe is building a case for how the Alter Rebbe. This is also the mimer that the Rebbe said before in Vayeshev Yaakov. So the Rebbe is building a case here. He says, find the same question in our parsha. What does it say in our parsha? Vayeshev Yaakov, the Eretz Meguri Aviv, the Eretz Canaan. 2 times the word Eretz. It says Yaakov was in the land of the resting place. Meguri Aviv is a different translation. Meguri means like from a gathering place, but where his forefathers were. in the land of Canaan. Shekoifel base pam tevis eretz. It says 2 times the word eretz. Leinemer could have worded it differently, and how would have it worded it? The Rebbe says that Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Meguri Aviv b'Canaan. Does it have to say 2 times eretz, right? The word Torah doesn't just say a word for no reason. Every letter in the word is a drasha, right? When you learn the Gemara says v'tamei. Reb Shimon does darshan above and doesn't darshan above. Every letter, Rabbi Kiva learned many halachas from the crowns of Torah. So here we have a whole extra word. These are extra words. The Torah is coming to tell us something. There's 2 levels in Eretz. There's Eretz Muguri Aviv, and there's Eretz Canaan. Let's see what those are. I said this is the Alter Rebbe starts in the parsha, the Torah of the parsha. This is the question. The Alter Rebbe starts the parsha of Eira. The first mimer is on this pasuk, and this question is the first question that the Alter Rebbe addresses. Why do we have to say Be'eretz Meguri Aviv, the land of where his father is, Be'eretz Canaan, the land of his Canaan? And he brings the verse, the famous verse that we've learned about many times, that is Halech lefanai, walk before me, ba'artzos hachayim, in the lands, plural, of life. Artzos, lashon rabim, sheish shnei mini artzos, there's 2 types of lands. There's artzos hachayim, there's 2 avodas, there's 2 paths, there's two alichis in life, there's 2 walkings in life. One of the explanations of this is, it seems like he will get back to the initial questions of Hashem Lakeinu Hashem Echad and Hashem Oz La'amit and Hashem Baruch Hashem V'Shalom, because he references it later. He'll talk about it in Sif Gimel and Sif Dalet, but he starts off with the question on, he's going to address obviously first the question of Vayeshev, maybe go backwards. Ve'echad habiurim zeh, apiyam avur ha'pasuk zeh, b'sefer or Torah l'Rav Magid. So we're getting the schus of actually learning a Torah of the Alter Rebbe's Rebbe, the Magid Mizrich. The Rebbe quotes a Torah from his Rebbe, from the Rebbe of the Alter Rebbe, the Magid Mizrich, published in the Sefer of the Magid called Or Torah. This is what the Magid Mizrich says. The famous idea that the Alter Rebbe says that everything, I don't know what that means obviously, but he says that everything he taught was only from the first Torah he has from the Magid. Means that the whole basis of his teachings of Chassidus is based on one idea he learned from the Magid. There's so many more ideas he learned, seemingly he never taught, whatever that's supposed to mean. So the Alter Rebbe says like this. The Magid says, Remez haparsha, Vayeshev Yaakov Eretz Mugur Aviv be'Eretz Canaan. Eila told us. So how does the pasuk say? It says that Yaakov sat in Eretz Mugur Aviv in the land of Canaan. Then it says Eila told us Yaakov Yosef. These are the students of Yaakov, Yosef. So Ein Vayeshev Ela Lashon Akava. What's Vayeshev mean? So Yeshev means literally to sit or to settle. But he also says Vayeshev is also Akava. This is amazing. I was just talking about this last night. That Akava means when you stop something, la'akiv, to hold something back. When you stop a trend of something and you have to start the trend again. Second, we stopped. We finished the first trend. Now we're starting something new. Akava means to la'akiv, to hold back. Ratzulemer, kol yimei yikuve b'oil mazeh, hu b'dvekes Hashem Yisparach. All his kol yimei yikuve, all his being held back or being holding back from the word ikuv, holding back in this world is b'dvekes Hashem Yisparach, was with cleaving to Hashem. Even though he was in the land, in the materialistic of this world, the physical world. Vayeshev means he's ma'akev, he holds himself back from getting involved in the materialistic nature of the world. That even though he lives in a material world and he lives in the Olam Hazeh, he's still ma'akev in Eretz Aviv. He's stopping in his father's land. Even though he's living in the land and the materialistic of this world, I'm in the resting place of my father. The fear of God, the fear of his father. If the Alter Rebbe's Torah is so hard to understand, you have to surely understand the Magid's Torah is even more cryptic and not exactly easy to understand. It says, even if he lives amongst non-good people, it doesn't affect his or her actions. Eretz Canaan. Even though he's physically in Eretz Canaan, but he's Vayeshev in Meguri Aviv. So there's two lands going on. There's where he's actually, and where he's Ma'akiv, where he holds himself back into. So the K'mashkas of Canaan biyodei ma'aznei mirma. Canaan, it's brought down. Where's 11? The pasuk I think is in Hosea. It says about Canaan biyodei that he has a full mirma is like a cheating scale. The Alter Rebbe's whole mimer uses that as a mila. That how do you fight the world is the scale of Canaan. Meaning to say that it seems like you're a person that's involved in the world, but really you're really v'meguri aviv, you're really with your father. So Canaan biyada, he has in his hands ma'aznei mirmi. He has ma'aznei is the scale, a scale of not cheating, but of ramois, of things are not. It's not so simple. V'haf became machzik betumai. Even if he's in Eretz Canaan, because he's ma'akiv in meguri aviv, he can remain. Machzik means he can remain betumai with his completeness and simplicity. The kavanah rak, and what is my motivation? What is my kavanah? What's my intentions? Rak laharbis told us Yaakov Yosef is only to add, to give birth to ideas, to actions, to people, inspiration. The kavanah rak laharbis told us shu mitzvahs u'maisim tovim, which what's the told us? My good deeds. V'heim ikri todosav shal tzaddik, and that's the main thing of a tzaddik. The main birth, main children, the main is tzaddik is the ma'asim tovim. V'zeu, and this is how the pasuk continues. Ela told us Yaakov Yosef Klemer. He doesn't not only Yosef for the name, but what the name Yosef represents. That like Rachel said that Yosef li bein acher, God's going to give me another child. Right away, Yosef means you think what does Rachel say when she names Yosef? Yosef is not satisfied with the child that she has. She doesn't. She's not in Leah. By Leah, every one of her children, if you think about it, every one of Leah's children were named for the child themselves. What the child is added in my relationship with Yaakov, in my avodas Hashem, wherever you want to learn how, whatever level of depth you want to get to her intentions of naming the names of her children, but each name themselves represents itself something. Reuven, he sees, he hears. He will accompany me now. It's Levi. Yehuda, now he acknowledges. All the names were based on what the child itself gave her. What's Rachel do? Right away, Rachel says she has the one child that she's waiting for. She sacrifices it. She's paying to find out what her son is, what if she finally is gonna have a child, and what she name him? Not about the child, but about the next child. Yosef, Hashem li ben acher. Give me another child. Yaakov Yosef. You want to know what the told us of a tzaddik is? Yosef, Kloimer, Lahaisif, to add. To constantly add to God. My motivation is not where I am, is what I'm adding. This is 14. This is the Torah. He brings down in 14. This must be from, I'm not sure this edition comes from. It's not about myself. Means it's not about what I gained from it. This is an amazing Torah. This is the Torah of the Maggid. I mean, of course, you understand, you read such a Torah from the Holy Maggid, you understand why the Alter Rebbe says it's one Torah that teaches everything in life. This includes everything. So the Rebbe says like this, V'nimtza. So what do we see from here? That based on the teaching of the Maggid, that there's the statement of Vayeshev Yaakov Be'eretz Meguri Aviv Be'eretz Canaan is an explanation of the mission of a yid, of a person. That although you're in Eretz Canaan, you're in Eretz Meguri Aviv. There's two lives going, there's two worlds going on, and the question is, what motivates you? You could be doing the same thing as everyone else within the laws of Torah, but what's your drive? So it says, "V'nimtza sheyesh shnei inyanim ba'eretz." There's two levels of Eretz. Eretz Meguri Aviv, where your father is, Lashon Artz Yistam, Shgam hi yirida l'neshama. And even to be in that land, it's not like the neshama was before, where it's just by God. It's an eretz, but he's ma'akiv there. He stays there. And of course, the Rebbe says if anything is a yerida, brings in aliyah. So if you're in eretz Meguri Aviv, also that is going to elevate the soul by remaining in the eretz Meguri Aviv, because one of the rules is that in order to get to a higher place, Otherwise, we learned many times what's the purpose of the world of the neshama coming down to the world is only there has to be return on investment, right? If someone invests $100 and gets back $100 10 years later and says, "Wow, look, I give you back your $100," it's not an investment; it's a loan, not an interest loan. So here, there has to be some sort of return. And what's the return? The return is that there's an aliyah for every yerida. Every descent gives a higher elevation that the soul would not have had it not experienced this yerida, this descent. So the first in Eretz Meguri Aviv, that also has to be a yerida, and because there's a yerida, there's an aliyah. Or how is there an aliyah? Because there's a yerida. That the person who could stop, like Yaakov in Eretz Meguri Aviv, that's not such a yerida, because you stay within the focus, even in the world. Your drive, your focus is clear. You're in Meguri Aviv. You're in the resting place of your father. Your intentions are all about Yosef li ben Acher, and it's not as far as if you fell actually into Eretz Canaan. Bechinas Mirma de Luma said the world of full of Mirma, cheating of the world of this world. She read the G'dayla Harba Yosef read the Bechinas Artistam. Going down to Eretz Canaan is much more of a yerida than going down to this, just going down to the world itself. It means you're going into the personality, into the characteristics of the world, of l'umazeh, of the other world. Therefore, like the rule is, the lower you go, the higher you go. If you're only ready to invest a little bit, your return is a little. So if you're only going to Eretz Meguri Aviv, even though that's a yerida and it is an aliyah, but your aliyah is much less than your yerida, because your aliyah is much less than if your yerida would be further down. The person who goes all the way down to Eretz Canaan, so therefore the aliyah is much greater. This is based on the rule. This is the idea of the rule of the Baal Tshuva on the tzaddik. Because in general, in the idea of Klaus in Yirid Sanshama, every soul goes down, including a tzaddik. The tzaddikim also come to this world, right? Stam. They're only in Eretz Stam. They're not getting into Eretz Canaan. They're not getting into the mentality. They're not part of the story. They're not part of the characteristics of Canaan. They're in the world, but they're ma'akiv. They hold back with the Guri Aviv. Their mission is clear. Their focus is clear. Is Amasheng about Shuva. A person who's a Baal Tshuva, he or she who has to make Shuva. It's not just you're in this world. You're in this world and you're struggling with the characteristics of this world. Bechinas mirmas deknan. There's confusion. What's mirma? Mirma means it's the scale seems to be telling you something. It's not true. Well, what does it mean to have a mirma of a scale? What's a scale? A scale is supposed to give us an idea. What do you measure? What are you measuring? What is the scale for? You're trying to figure things out, right? How much weight is in this? How much am I buying here? How much is in? How much? You go to a store and you weigh something. You pay per pound, right? So you have to know what you have to know what the facts are. But if the scale is not telling the truth, if the scale is a lying scale, so how are you supposed to know what you're supposed to be doing? So that's the scale of Canaan. If a person gets involved in the scale of Canaan, it's very confusing. It's very hard to find your direction. So that's the Baal Tshuva. In the scales are not telling the truth. The facts are not adding up. But nevertheless, you have to go through that world and figure a direction. So therefore, the Aliyah Vayeshev says, therefore the Baal Tshuva elevates much higher. As our rabbis teach us, the Mokim Shabali Tshuva Ve'oimdim, where the Baal Tshuva could stand, even the high tzaddik can't stand, because the tzaddik is b'meguri aviv, is ma'akev, Vayeshev, he says, the Holy Maggid says, Vayeshev, he stays, he remains in meguri aviv, even if he's in the world, he's in the mindset of Yaakov. But to go into Eretz Canaan, that's something different. This is amazing. You read the Torah, you're not realizing the whole, what they call in Yiddish the Reichkeit, because maybe even the Rebbe explains it better than what we would understand ourselves. The Rebbe says, it means all there. We just maybe don't understand it always. The Rebbe says, he points out, in Torah when he explains the two ideas of Eretz Canaan and Eretz Meguri Aviv. And I'm going to walk before you as halach before Hashem in the worlds, in the lands of life. Arts is lashon rabim. It's a plural. Shebechlolos him gan eden elim and gan eden tachtin. There's a person's mahalach. So this in general that's talking about the lower level of Gan Eden, the higher level of Gan Eden. Akifishim is sayim b'seif ha'maimer, and as the Alter Rebbe even finishes in the Maimer, shebeis artzos elu, emichudei lav yichudei tata. You know, I just want to say something. I don't remember him that well, but I sent Shimon the article that a friend of Seattle, Velvel Kopp, I remember when he came. So he was nifted this week, so we should learn in his honor. And it said in the article that he was a Pashut Yid that learned Torah and Likutei Torah. Mamish, that was his passion, learning Likutei Torah and Torah. I just want to say that learning about Likutei Torah and Torah tonight, we should be in the honor of Velvel Kopp's neshama, that he mamish threw his life into the teachings of the Alter Rebbe, Likutei Torah and Torah. That's just a station identification. So the Rebbe says like this: as it says at the end of the Maimer, Shebeis Artis Elu, that the two lands is also Yechuda Elah and Yechuda Tata. There's two levels of unification. The unification from above, it's absolute godliness. Yechuda Tata is, this is also one of the themes of the parsha, the difference between Yosef and his brothers. His brothers could only gather as much as the wheat, as the bushels, and to make to within this world to make it one. It's called bittul hayesh. That you're something, but you nullify what you want for what Hashem wants. Bittul b'mitzias means you don't even exist. Limud Torah v'kim mitzvahs. The bottom line of how a person learns Torah and does mitzvahs. Also, the Alter Rebbe finishes off that the artsois, the plural, one is the world of Torah, one's the world of mitzvahs. She'eretz habeis kayal mitzvahs. And the end, the Alter Rebbe finishes off that when it says Eretz Canaan, it's talking about mitzvahs. Why is Eretz Canaan, which we just said is the mirma, is the cheating scale, referring to mitzvahs? Because mitzvahs are nislavshu b'davar gashmim. Same idea. A person could go take a citrus and make it into a mitzvah. That you're fooling things. Everyone looks at a citrus and says, "This is a fruit," and you're all of a sudden showing this is not a fruit. It's an esrog. This is not a house. This is a shul. This is a piece of meat that I'm eating for Shabbos. This is a relationship that's within the confines of Torah mitzvahs. That's what it means. The positive. That's the Rebbe's point. The positive part of Torah, the positive idea of the mirma of the Moznai Canaan, of the scale of Canaan, is the world measures it one way, but you see it another way. What's the Rebbe saying? What's the difference between the way the Alter Rebbe learns the artzos and the way the Torah again is the Magid, Lahamagid Mefarish Yirida Zulamata Oidyoser. That the Magid teaches it lower. That the Alter Rebbe holds the artzos are both within the world of Torah mitzvahs. The question is, Torah is, of course, the person's isolated. But mitzvahs you're out in the world, so you have to be like the Nachash. We learned many times, how do you fight the Nachash who fights against Torah mitzvahs? You have to be like him. So the Nachash says, "Oh, look, I'm just holding a citrus." No, I'm not holding a citrus. I'm holding an estrik. I'm holding a lulav. I'm not lighting a candle. I'm Shabbos candles. I'm lighting Hanukkah candles. Right? So you're fooling the world. You're not taking the world looks at it one way. You're showing how what looks to be mundane is really holy. But in Ora Torah goes even lower. That Eretz Canaan is not just holiness, it's the negative, it's the Baal Tshuva. I mean, when I say Baal Tshuva, it means what the Baal Tshuva had to go through before he does or she does Tshuva. It's not the mirma of mitzvahs. It's not the cheating of a mitzvah, cheating out from the gashmis and making it ruchnis. But this is the world, the way the challenges of the world are. And that's the vod of Tshuva that the Baal Tshuva talks, that the Maggid talks about. This is based on the teaching that we have that says, it's better to have one moment of repentance or return and good deeds in this world. That's why he says, based on the rule, that the lower you go, the higher you have elevated. So that's the basis of the Yafa Tshuva. Why is it better to do Tshuva? Because Tshuva is in the world of Canaan, in the mirma, in the cheating scales. It doesn't say Torah meisim tovim or Torah tshuva meisim tovim. It just says tshuva meisim tovim. Dafka. Shezeu b'chinas eretz habeis kanal. We're talking about the second level, even the second level according to the Magid. B'tshuva meisim tovim gufa ikar ma'ali b'tshuva dafka. The stress is the tshuva, that you go out to the world, that you're not just the level of the Alter Rebbe of mitzvahs. I mean, there's two. Basically, the Rebbe is saying here is there's two levels of Canaan, like there's two levels of Sadeh. Right? There's the Sad of Esav and there's the Melech Basada. So the idea is that even if you're in the Sad of Esav, you have to reach out to the Melech Basada and Elul. So too over here you have the scales of Canaan. So there's the fooling to make from Gashmis Ruchnias. And there's a bigger fooling in that when you're actually struggling with the scales of Canaan as the real scales are, that they're giving you different conclusions of life. And nevertheless, you're getting out of that and finding Hashem. That's the scales of tshuva. So that's the mile of Baal Tshuva al Tzaddikim Gemurim. Even Shesh Gam Mile but Tzaddikim, but the fact that there's also it's not just one way street. It's artsois. There's two paths, right? Not Matamim Yitzchak says, give me a plural tastes. There's two avodah. There's the avodah of the tzaddik and the avodah of the Baal Tshuva. What's the there's also a mile of a tzaddik. What is Mashiach going to do? Mashiach is going to give that the Baal Tshuva, that the tzaddik also has an ability to do tshuva. It says Mashiach is going to come to bring tshuva to the tzaddik. The Hainu Shechidush Shel Mashiach. What is going to be the chiddush of Mashiach? Sheyav Gam Tzaddik Ma'aseh Tshuva. That even a tzaddik will be able to come to do tshuva. One of the biggest claims against the Alter Rebbe or against Chassidus, as is brought down by the Frierdiker Rebbe, was how could the Baal Tshuva have taught that a tzaddik has to do tshuva b'chol? I mean, it's brought down in the Zohar. Not sure what their issue was. The Zohar says that Mashiach do it. That's a line from the Zohar. But one way or another, Zohar Chodesh. One way or another, the outside world didn't accept that teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. What does it mean for a tzaddik to have to do tshuva? Umeli you beis. Then the Mashiach comes, the tzaddik will also have the uniqueness of the Baal Tshuva. Aval ikar chedush Mashiach hu lo lifal inin the tzaddik. So here he said. So there's the Rebbe says that in the statement of the Zohar, it says what is Mashiach going to do? Mashiach asa le'atava tzadikayu b'tiyufta. He's going to bring to the tzaddik la'atava to return the tshuva. So the question is, what's the focus? Is the focus on the tzaddik or the tshuva? And the Rebbe says the focus is the tshuva. It's not. I mean, as much as the tzaddik also become a Baal Tshuva, but the focus is the tshuva, not the tzaddik. Not to give the tzaddik the experience of the Baal Tshuva, but that the tzaddik needs the Baal Tshuva, or the tzaddik needs tshuva. Shegam etz tzaddik in tshuva ki ikar ma'ili b'tshuva dafka. The ma'ila is in tshuva. So it's interesting, and I'm not sure how much this. Obviously, the Rebbe the Rebbe will explain this further and try to get to the end of the Sicho. But the idea basically is, we know that in general that the Alter Rebbe once told his son the Magid, the Mittler Rebbe, that the difference between him and the Magid was that he made Baal Tshuva, the Alter Rebbe made Baal Tshuva, and the Magid made Tzaddikim. But from the Torahs, it seems differently, that the Alter Rebbe's Torah is the Torah of the Tzaddik, of that even in the world you still have the Mirma of mitzvahs. And the Baal Tshuva and the Magid's Torah is that the Eretz Canaan is Eretz Canaan the way it is. It's Eretz Canaan. It's not. We're not talking about a person turning an esrog into a citrus into esrog. We're talking about a person who has to turn their Canaan into holiness. So he says like this: a movement is understood. Obviously, it's not that the Mashiach will come to show the tzaddik that he has averus or she has averus. It's a high level of tshuva. As it's taught in the Kutei Torah, the idea of tshuva is, like we learn in the Kutei Torah, I believe it's in Hazinu, okay? Tshuva means varuach, the spirit, returns to the God where it comes from. That what's the main thing of tshuva, like it says in Geras Tshuva, is the return of the soul in its higher level. I mean, and the return obviously has to be a Yerida has an Aliyah. So the tshuva is the return to its, not so much the return of sin. Okay. Now he says like this. The two levels of Eretz, in either Eretz Meguri Aviv and Eretz Canaan, or Eretz Meguri Aviv and Eretz Canaan, also within Avodah of Torah and mitzvahs. Is Avodah says the Avodah about tshuva. Now the Rebbe goes and explains that these two levels within, either according to the teaching of the Alter Rebbe, or according to the teaching of the Magid, which means he takes down even lower. But either way, the two artists are two worlds. One of the tzaddik and one of the Baal Tshuva, either the Baal Tshuva of the tzaddik or the Baal Tshuva of the Rasha, let's call it. And that's also the pasuk of Hashem Oz La'ama Yitain, Hashem Yivarach Amay B'Shalom. The Rebbe is continuing with the Sima Shas of Mishnayos. Beis Pamim Amoy, Beis Madregas Ba'am Yisrael. What's the two levels of Amoy? Why does it say two times? Like we said, what was the Rebbe's question? It should have said Hashem Oiz So he says, no, 2 times Amay. Why? Because 2 times Amay are 2 peoples. What are the 2 peoples? The Tzaddik and the Baal Tshuva. Who connect them, and because they're 2 peoples, there's 2 avodas. There's 2 levels of Havaya. Beis Madregas B'Shem Havaya, 2 levels within Havaya. K'mayim Razal, Havaya, who koidim shiachta Adam. The one is Ani who koidim shiachta Adam. One level of Havaya is before the sin. Ani hu lach shiachta Adam, after the sin. The Yasa Tshuva and Das Tshuva. So the 2 Hashem Kel Racham Chanim. It's brought down even. We learned it in I think in Torah. That's 2 sides of the head, and the head gets the middle when you mess things up and you start thinking wrong. But either way, it's beyond beyond sin, beneath sin, beyond understanding, beneath understanding. So there's 2 levels of Havaya. Where Pratias Hashem Oiz Lama Yitein. What does it mean in the 2 psukim themselves? Which Hashem goes to which Amoy? When it says Hashem Oiz gives strength to Amoy Koyal Matan Torah, that's giving Torah. Ein Oiz El Torah. K'mayim Razal Ein Oiz El Torah. What does Oiz mean? Torah. And when the Jewish people received the Torah, we were all levels of tzaddikim. So the first part of the verse, Hashem Oiz Le'amitain, is talking about the relationship between Hashem and Amoy, the level of tzaddikim. Hashem Yivarach Sam B'Shalom, in the second level of the pasuk of Hashem blesses His people with peace. Comes on after Matan Torah. A person has to go out to the world. And you have to make the world vessels for godliness. Like peace. What's peace? Peace is taking 2 opposites and making it one. Where do you have 2 opposites? 2 opposites is the world, Gashmis and Ruchnis, material and physical and spiritual. In the beginning, there is a separation. There could even be contradiction. There could be enemies. You can make them inclusive and to be peaceful. It says, everything, how does a person accomplish things? Any kind of things. If you need to have Hashem Oiz, or Hashem Yivarach Esamei B'Shalom, these are accomplishments. So how do we get it? It's through tefillah. Like it says, Sulam Mutzav Arta V'Reishim Megir Shemayim, the connection between Arza and Shemayim. And Malach Elikim Oilim V'Yordim, the angels go up and down. Whether they're going up or coming down. Sulam that comes through the tefillah. It means how do we elevate and how do we bring down energies all through prayer? That's why. Now he's going to answer the second question. Why does it say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? Because just like there's 2 levels of the 2 levels of Eretz, the Baal Tshuva and the Tzaddik, and there's 2 levels of Hashem Amoy and Hashem Oiz La'amit and Hashem Yivarach Esamei B'Shalom. So too the tefillah, which is represented by the Shema, also has to have 2 levels of Shema of Hashem. Ikir na tefillah ku Kriya Shema. What's the main part of the davening? Is the Kriya Shema. Ikir Kriya Shema. What's the main part of the Kriya Shema? Is pasuk Rishon. Kriya Shema shel Rabbi Yehuda Nasi b'shah Shema V'Yodav al Panav Mekabel of al Mach Shemaim. Like it says, when Rabbi Yehuda Nasi put his hand and said Shema, that's the main part of the davening. Well, pasuk Rishon the Kriya Shema and base Pam Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And like we said before, we say 2 times Hashem Elokeinu. We should have said, it could have said Hashem Elokeinu Echad. Instead we say Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Because the pasuk Shema Yisrael is also inclusive of these 2 ideas. Havaya lekeinu. What is Hashem is our Lord? We need tzaddikim. Shara lekeinu kayal neshamas Yisrael. It's talking about He's our God. Who we are. What are we? We're the souls of Jews. What level of the neshama we're talking about, like he's going to talk about later, is the level of neshama and nesata be tahirahi. It's talking about the tzaddik. There's no sin here. Hashem echad, what's the level? What's the echad? Echad again, it's not yachid. Echad means to make it all one. Like Hashem, it's the same. It corresponds to the concept of Canaan and Shalom. Huinin hatshuva. Kipir smak, like the smak says. It's talking about separation. There's 7 heavens, separation. Each level of heaven separate, and the earth. And Daled, Moira, Dad, Ruchas Island, 4 sides of the world. Everything's separate. And could be even contradictions and enemies. It says Nasa Adam plurally, right? And the Gemara says, what do you mean? Why are you saying Nasa Adam plurally? Maybe someone's going to think that there's 2 Rishuyas. When Hashem could have spoken in the singular, I will make man. And like this, no one would ever think from the Torah that there's a source, that there's a second, there's other powers in heaven. The God says that's what I'm going to say, right? So it says if a person wants to learn wrong, that's his choice, her choice. Nevertheless, with all the implications of saying nasa, nevertheless, we don't fall and say, well, if there's two Rishuyas, maybe I could also have Gashmis in my life. What is the Toros? The Toros just doesn't mean that you're going to bow down to idols. The Toros means is who says I can't have two motivations, two agendas in life. But nevertheless, miyachdim, we make it Hashem Echad. Then that's again, what's that? That's going away from the message of Canaan and going back to the Shuvah to return. The lower part of the neshama, as it is functioning in the body, where it has to struggle with the world and with the bodily needs and the bodily urges. Ata berasa, the levels of bria. There there could be sin. The level of the first level of Hashem, which is the level of the tzaddik within the person. This is the void of the soul of the neshama. The way is above. The level of the neshama that we pronounce tahiri, it's pure. There's no level of sin. There's an idea that's brought down. When a person sins, the essential part of their soul, the chay yechid of the soul, goes away. It says, I think somewhere I read a story that the holy Rebbe of Vanapali, he said about himself that when Adam Arishon ate from the tree of knowledge, he left Adam. He wasn't going to be part of that story. It says Adam had within him all the souls of human people. That's why we all are kind of sucked into this. It's not a private story that happened to Adam when he ate from the tree and she ate from the tree. Whatever, and all the sins that were related to that, it affected all mankind. And Zusha Vanapali says, if I remember correctly, I read a story. He says, I left Adam at that moment. I don't want to be part of that story. So that's what he's saying over here. That when a person sins, the chay yechida goes away from the person, separates from the person. How do we take from tahiri to atabarasa? How do we take it from the parts of our souls that shall be one? Now, as I remember, vayikra avaya avaya. We say Hashem Hashem. That's what it says. Hashem Hashem kel racham v'chanan. Vayikra means we're calling from beyond the two names. Separation comes from with the things start to say, which who do you belong to? But I go before the separation. That's the lo yisram is b'shum ois b'shum kaitz. There's no name beyond the name. The anochi, it's I. Different level of anochi can connect the two names of Hashem. Make Hashem Lakeinu Hashem Echad. Hashem ois lamit and Hashem Yivarach V'Shalom. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz mugariyav be'eretz Canaan. Derech zeh yesh gam neshamas dugmas b'chinas anochi mish anochi. Etzem neshamas l'malam b'chinas tahiri. What part of the soul is beyond that was within the person themselves that could connect both the complications of the person? It's the level of the soul that's so high that enforces that the soul come part of the body. That's why it says Anochi is Hashem Lekecha. Anochi makes that Hashem should be Lekecha. Combines Havaya with Elikim. Havaya hu Havaya Kechad. Havaya is beyond time and space. Elikush l'mayil me'olim, that's godliness beyond the world. B'dugmas Hashem Elokeinu shebekishma. And Elikecha koichacha v'chayuscha hachayis elikishim slavish b'olim. And the name Havaya Anochi Hashem Elikecha means your strength, the strength of the world. V'kumrumis b'shem Elikim lashon rabim plural. B'dugmas Hashem Echad shebekishma. That's the second level of Hashem in the Shema. Then how could we make that have noichi havaya should be alikecha? How do we combine the levels of the souls? How do we combine the eretz achayim, the eretz meguriyav with eretz Canaan? How do we make a person of Hashem oizlam yit and Hashem baruch b'shalom? It comes in the level of anochi. It's a beautiful sicha. The lois ram b'shum ois leb'shum kaitz shemechaber mamshich b'chinas Hashem leb'chinas alikecha. We didn't get to the Chanukah part of the Farbrengen. But this is itself, it's a huge Torah from the Mag, based on the teaching of the Maggid, into the teaching of the Alter Rebbe. I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos and, of course, a good Yom Tov, Lichtig Yom Tov. The Yom Tov, the Or of Mashiach, should shine on us. And see all you here in Yerushalayim, Yer Kodesh, B'Kari. Laila Tov. Good Shabbos.